New van, new video. So this van is one that we're building for Jas and Craig from HSTL Made. There you go. So anybody that know HSTL Made or follow CrossFit or functional fitness will know exactly who they are. They have a clothing brand and they're also YouTubers and big into the CrossFit world, and they wanted us to build this van for them to go tour around CrossFit boxes. So the plan is we're going to make this van in something very bespoke for them, so they can tour around boxes around the country, visit people that buy their clothes and visit people that follow them on YouTube, work out with them and stop in the vehicle on their route. So that's the plan with this. So the inside's going to be something a bit different to what we're used to doing, but something very bespoke to what they need, so well worth a follow. First part of this journey on this van is to sort out wheels and suspension, because that's always the first thing. It's always about looks outside for me. So what are we starting with? So we have a T32 start line in flannel grey. I've said it once, I've said it lots of times, my favourite VW colour they've ever done. So T32 start line with a bunch of extras. It's a 150 DSG, it's got heated swivel seats. It's actually a factory combi, but we're losing all the seats coming out the back. The idea behind this episode is to show you the correct way to get a T32 as low as you can without being stupidly low and still being legal. And it's all about wheel and tyre size and picking the right suspension. So we get asked lots whether people can fit our solo T32s with 20-inch wheels, and you can. You just can't do that with a load rated tyre. And the reason being is they just go too low out the box. So solos are 100mm drop from their very highest setting, and you can't get a T32 load rated tyre to go on a 20 that will work with that. So T32s you need a 103 rating or above. Now unfortunately it's really common for wheel companies to sell 20-inch wheels with a 275/40 profile tyre on, which is ridiculous. They're massive, they're balloon tyres, your speedo will be massively out, but they do it because the tyres are cheap, they get them as a package and they're load rated, but it really restricts you when it comes to lowering. So 275/40 you can just about get away with standard B14s on the highest setting, so a kind of a 50mm drop. Anything lower than that you're going to start to get a rub, and you can even get a rub then. So this van's going to have the new Twin Adjust Project T32 suspension put on it, but the low one. They do what they call a max low. Now that's not low like we know low, like solo low, but they kind of go about 90 out of the box, which is perfect for this application being a T32. So the suspension's been out for quite a while. It's just because we don't really get T32s outside the UK, they've never really bothered developing the T32 damper, and never bothered. They've never needed to, because the European market just doesn't need them. We only really have so many T32s in this country because it's a tax fiddle and because people can run them as company cars. But anyway, there you go. So the new damper that's just arrived a couple of weeks ago, there's been big demand for it because an alternative for the T32 market, but also it gives you the ability to go that bit lower. So we're going to get that on this van, and then Josh is going to fit some 20-inch wheels and the correct size tyre, and we'll explain what tyre we've put on it and why. So right now I'm going to hand over to Josh and he's going to get the suspension on. So I thought while Josh is fitting the suspension on that van, it'd be a good opportunity to help you, or to help explain suspension and different load ratings and wheels and tyres and how low you can get on different tyres. So if you're not interested in all this and you want to skip forward to just seeing the van, Danny will put in the top corner here what point in the video to skip to. But if you are interested and want to understand wheels and tyres and suspension, stick around and you might find it interesting, if not a little bit boring. So to start with, Transporter's come in a few different versions: 26, T28, T30 and T32 spoken about, and you'll also see tyre load rated spoken about. That basically means that's the maximum the load vehicle, the full laden weight the vehicle should be. So when it's fully loaded, if you've got a full camper, it shouldn't be over that particular weight there. It's very rare that we'll ever see a T32 that's anywhere near 3.2 tonne. So this weight here is showing you what each wheel should be and also what the load rating for the tyre should be. So if you're unsure if your vehicle is a T30 or a T32, the best place to look is in the engine bay. And so all vehicles will have this sticker here. So this is behind the airbox on a T6.1, so back left hand corner. And it's showing you here that this vehicle is, the fully laden weight can be 3.2 tonnes, so it's a T32. Having said that, I've seen quite a few vehicles that say they're a T32 and register as a T32, and they're on what we would class as T30 suspension. So before you order any suspension, you can look at this, but also look behind the front wheel to get an absolute confirmation of what it would look like. So this is the suspension that's going on Craig and Jas's van. So this is the Twin Adjust Project Max Low. And you can see here, this is the bit that's telling us it's the T32. So the bottom of the suspension damper is bolted to the hub, whereas a T30 or T26, T28 and T30 suspension like this one, the suspension damper slots into the hub. So T26, T28 and T30 is exactly the same way of mounting them. T32 is different. When you change your suspension, this here is irrelevant anyway because it's going out the window. The springs are the same regardless to whether they're T26 to T32. It's all the suspension damper. So like I said, this is the one that's going on Craig and Jas's van. This is the T32. It's just come out. It's been out for a T30 platform for a while, but it's just come out for a T32 now, and we've gone for the twin adjust max low version. So it just allows us to go that little bit lower. So this kit goes 50 to 90 millimeters drop from your standard suspension. Right, so the other thing worth mentioning when fitting coilovers is, if you have a T6.1, it's not relevant to T5 to T6. If it's a T6.1, you will need longer drop links. So a T6.1 has a different shape anti-roll bar because they have electronic power steering, and the shape of them means that the drop links would be too short on a standard one when lowering them. So you will need longer drop links if it's a T6.1. We hear lots of people knocking issues on T6.1, and this is always the first place to look because they use standard drop links, but they're a must. The other thing that's quite common when replacing coilovers on older vehicles and even stuff that's 12 months old, these rear spring rubbers go, so the spring just pops through there. So it's quite often worth investing in a set of those if you're getting somebody else to fit your coilovers, just so you've got them. And finally, top mount rubbers. So this really doesn't change, but the top mount cap here can split quite often. So you may be worth getting a set of those. Although having said that, most garages can get these from their local motor factory within an hour or so anyway. So it's just worth bearing in mind. So T32 suspension, as I mentioned previously, the reason why it's important that you get it right for a T32 is that they are a Class 7 MOT. So what does that mean? Well, here you go. Class 7 MOT basically means any vehicle that's 3,000 kilos to 3,500 kilos has to have a Class 7 MOT, which just basically means they check your tyres. They don't actually check your wheel rating on any Class 7 MOT, but they do check your tyres. So if you're not running a load rated tyre, so back here, if you're not running a tyre that's a 103 rated on a T32, it'll fail its MOT. They don't check them on a T30, T28, T26. It's only on a T32 that it forms a Class 7 MOT. So using this wheel as an example, because that's the wheel that's going on Craig and Jas's van. So this is the Navis Twin 5 wheel, which is a 20-inch wheel. The drop-down box here helps you choose what size tyre you want, and it will show you what load rated you want. So information at the bottom here tells us that it's a 9 wide wheel, the ET, so the offset is 42. It's a 20-inch wheel, it's 5x120, so that's the fitment or the PCD. That's what size all Transporter wheels need to be, 5x120, and the centre bore is 65.1, which is exactly the right centre bore for a Transporter. So this wheel is built for a Transporter. And this is load rated up to 1,050 kilos. So we know from this image here that we need 860 kilos, so it's more than enough. In fact, it's craft load rated, so that's absolutely fine. Where are we? Back to there. So that's the wheel that we're going to go for. Then moving on to how you compare that to what you've got currently. So I'm basing all these numbers on this wheel here, which is the VW Davenport wheel, which is a 17-inch wheel that comes on most T32s, and that's the correct tyre size and wheel that would come on most T32s out of the factory. And then we use this site, we've mentioned this before, so this is a really useful site called willtheyfit.com, and I'm using this to compare what the factory rolling radius is and what your various different wheel setups are. So that Davenport wheel there would come out the factory with this tyre on, so 215 60 17. The wheel width on those is a 7 wide, and the offset is 56. So then I'm going to compare that to what we see far too much of, unfortunately, and that's a 275 40 20, because that's what, like I said previously, lots of wheel companies put with their packages because they're cheap and they're load rated. It's like a one size fits all. It's like a 106 rated, I think, but it's massive. They look like huge balloon tyres, but they're really common and you see lots of them, but it really restricts us when we come to lowering vehicles. So anyway, so 275 40 20 on a 9 wide wheel and the offset of 42, which is what the Navis wheels are. So these figures here give you the details comparing your standard OEM wheel to that wheel. So you can see from here, the speedo is going to be a 5.25% out. You're at 60 mile an hour, your speedo will read 60 mile an hour. It's going to tell you that you're actually doing 56.85 miles an hour. You've gained nearly 20 million ride height. But what it also tells you is this image here shows you, so the orange wheel is your standard VW wheel, and the green one here is for this example, a Navis wheel with a 275/40 tyre on. And the problem that you get when you're lowering it is this bit here. So because the wheel is so much wider, it rubs here. So if you lower that tyre profile pretty much any more than 50 mil, it starts to rub here on the inner edge, and also it rubs here on the panel clip on the inside of the wheel arch. So moving down from there, like I said, that's popular because it's load rated, but the correct size tyre for a T30, well, the most common size tyre I would recommend for a T30 is a 275/35. So looking at that again, which is anything that's T26, T28, T30, that's the size tyre I would put on with your B14s or even your B14 or your twin adjust comfort lows, and that's going to give you a lot more accurate speedo reading. So you can see it's -1.3 at 60 mile an hour. Your speedo reading 60 mile an hour, you're actually going to be doing 59.08 miles an hour. But you can see here that the wheel and tyre size is a lot more accurate compared to your standard VW wheel. It's slightly higher in the corner here, but that doesn't cause any issue on B14s. You won't get any rub even on the lowest setting with that tyre size. So that would be the tyre size that I would recommend if you're running anything other than a T32. With a T32, you need to have that 103 rated tyre. So the closest you can get there is a 265/40 profile tyre. So again, on the same wheel, throws the speed about 4%, but this here, importantly, it doesn't have this massive bulge that a 275/40 has. So it allows you to lower the vehicle nicely again. So 265/40 is the correct size tyre, the closest you're going to get to a standard genuine wheel when you're lowering a van on coilovers. Anything more than 50 mil, which is what we're putting on here, and we'll show you the results afterwards. So hopefully you found that bit of information useful. The other thing to bear in mind is if you were going to go even lower again, so if you were going to go for solo, and we've mentioned this before, you can't do solos and get a legal or load rated tyre for solos. So on a T32, sorry, on a T26 to T30 you can, and you would go 255/35, which is still a 102 rated tyre. Now if you compare that, it's almost the same as the standard genuine wheel. So your speedo's only out by 0.48, and it's almost exactly the same. The only downside to that is when you're running, unless you're really low, your tyre looks tiny. So if you were running solos, it's absolutely fine. But if you're running that size tyre with like B14s or twin adjust project, there's just not enough tyre. It only works for T30 or below. It doesn't work for T32 because it's only 102 rated, but there's just not enough tyre to fill the arch. It just looks lost. And obviously the less tyre you have, the less comfort you have. So where possible, go for that slightly bigger tyre. So hopefully that information was useful, and I've waffled on now. So let's hand you back to Josh and let's have a look at this van. That is as low as a T32 can go and still remain legal. So what do you think? So I talk to a lot of people about suspension, and this seems to be what everybody describes to me on the phone when they say with the wheel and tyre look they want to go for and how much the arch gap is. This is pretty much what everybody describes, so I think this suits so many people. So what have we got? As I said before, Navis wheels, they're 1,050 kilo load rated a corner, so more than strong enough for a T32. 265/40 profile tyres, not huge balloons like the 275/40 profiles, and loads of plenty of load rating. So you can see down here they're 104 load rated. So yeah, absolutely fine for that. So the other thing that a lot of people get confused by, they think that this measurement here, 265/40 is this. Well, 265 is the width and the 40 is a percentage of the width. Moving that slightly, it just gives your wheel that little bit of tuck, gives it a little bit of stretch on the top, and making that wheel sorry, making that wheel ever so slightly narrow at the top is what eliminates that rub. So any lower than this, if there was a suspension that allowed you to go any lower than this, would rub. So that's your limit for that, but I think it looks really good. So obviously you can get a T32 lower. You can go solos on a T32, you just can't do it with a 20-inch wheel. So if in fact, it's even harder to get a 19-inch tyre that's load rated, but if you went for an 18, there's plenty of 18-inch wheel options that you can still do with the T32. Not that this is right, but lots of people have another set of tyres just for an MOT, or another set of wheels just for an MOT. They go back on. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but obviously loads of people, there's lots of low down and lots of bagged T32s out there. Those guys aren't running load rated tyres, but they're confident their vehicle's not 3.2 tonnes, so they're comfortable with it. It's just from an insurance point of view, maybe, and yeah, you know, it's not my place to judge on that, that's down to you. So anyway, we're finished for Craig and Jas. Well, the outside's done now. I hope they like it. I think it looks really good. I think there's going to be a whole different wheel thing going on here. Actually, we're planning something different for them when we do the inside, but this is going to get them on the road so they can start using it. And it was something we wanted to do to show you how you can make a T32 look good and low enough and still be totally legal. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do press the like button because it helps with the whole YouTube algorithms. More people that like it. Comment below, let us know what you think. Too low? Could do with being lower, let us know what you think. Please share it with anybody that might be interested in lowering their Transporter or wheels or tyres or understanding load rating, or if anybody you think that might be confused on what can and can't work. Hopefully you stuck around and listened to all the boring bit about load rating, but if you didn't, there you go, there's the finished result. So please subscribe to the channel if you don't already. If it's your first time here, click the little bell so you get notifications when we bring out a new video. Loads more stuff on this van for Jas and Craig. It's having a whole new wheel thing going on another time when we do the interior, but we'll feature that later down the road. Loads more stuff coming on the other van, on the ice grey, ice blue van. Got some more stuff happening to that, so well worth subscribing for if you're into transporters anyway. But anyway, as always, thanks for watching.